Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to Anime King 3. And today I'm going to be giving you part 27 of What If Naruto Had the Ultimate Nature Bloodline. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new series over on Anime King 2 of What If Naruto was a one-of-a-kind prodigy. And enjoy that guys. And remember, for anyone this is the first time you hear my voice, I indeed have 3 channels, Anime King, Anime King 2, Anime King 3, which I post what fun every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. And also guys, stay tuned for the brand new episode coming over Anime King, which I hope you guys will enjoy. So yeah, without further ado, we'll just begin this new episode. Start the intro. So, the last time we left off, as Naruto was currently on the battlefield, in front of the horde of Kumo Shinobis, Samui was leading a charge. They never expected to see Naruto here. This was a surprise to them. But they had to fight, they couldn't fall back now. As Naruto noticed the water style users, it seems he has came prepared for Gaara. As he told Gaara and the others to stay back. As Naruto went through hand sign, hundreds of trees and vines ripped from the ground. As it entangled the enemy before, Naruto released his explosion release. As the explosion was chaotic, as body parts, blood flew everywhere. A few shinobis managed to survive going underground, but once they emerged, Naruto ended their life in a swift second. Once that was over, he turned towards Gaara as he spoke to Gaara and Temari before he headed off. The group was still shocked that an event like that just happened. One man was able to slaughter so much within seconds. They were really glad that he was on their side, because if this war was against them, well, things would not be in their favor. Kurosaki was still making her way on the boat, as she and her horde of shinobis were quickly making their way. Mei Terumi, because Kira was staying under the battle. Well, Mei was not exactly doing that, as she sent information to Konoha about all of the forces that were making their way. As Minato relayed the information to Shikaku, as he started to strategize on the force. If the Stone and Kumo ever knew that, they would turn their guns against Kira as well. But they didn't have to know. Menma also spoke to Sesame, as the both of them were on the same garrison protecting the east of Land of Fire, as they could not let the shinobis pass. For the next few days, it happened swiftly. Numbers were being cut down instantly, as Oniki and the Raikage was getting beyond pissed. Things were not playing in their favor. They had lost a huge chunk of men already. But unlike this time in the past when they had surrendered, they would not this time, because they knew if they surrender once again, it would not be in their favor, and it would cost them too much given the fact that they were the one that started this war. But for the time being, Naruto and Menma were off the field. These two boys were proving to be two of the most deadliest ninjas out there. Even in the face of the Sanins, it didn't seem like they mattered that much. These two boys were just beyond powerful. So while they were off the field, as a huge bulk of force from Kumo and the Stone decided to make haste, as they had to push right through and go into the Land of Fire. Because if they let things continue this way, they would be overrun within a couple of days. So 8,000 plus from each nation was moving out in a large group. As the group that Jiraiya was currently watching over saw the shinobis coming, Jiraiya had instantly entered Sage mode. As it was a special group from the Stone, all of them were in masses, highly elite Jonins, stronger than any of the other Onvus or Jonin members of the group, as there were 20 of them in total. But it was then that the summons of Menma and Naruto started to arrive, as they had spread them across the battlefield to aid with the allied shinobi forces. As Jiraiya was happy about that, as he turned towards the approaching enemy, he just had to hold them off until reinforcements arrived. because he just had 2,000 under his command and there was 8,000 coming towards him. Meanwhile, Gaara was being overrun as things went chaotic. The Kinkaku forced a special op force that were able to inject Biju chakra in their body, and they were somehow able to sustain it, able to even enter the stage 2 form. We're currently facing off against Gaara and his force. Gaara showed why he was a Kazekage as he was able to take down 8 of these special op members that were slaughtering his man in the dozen, but he was hit by the captain of this group rather severely as he was knocked down. But as he was pulled away by Temari, fearing the worst, he heard an explosion. As Menma and Naruto had rejoined the battle, Menma had went off with Kakashi group to assist Jiraiya and Naruto had arrived here, as he landed right in the midst of the 12 shinobis that were all cloaked in the Biju chakra, as the captain focused on him. As the captain told the remaining forces to go after Gaara and his forces, they will take care of Naruto Uzumaki right here, and he will die, as Naruto simply smirked and beckoned him to come. Meanwhile, as the masked man was moving along with his plan, 100,000 white Zetsus was currently making their way. As a scout from the allied shinobi forces saw it, the man was shaking to his core when he saw these approaching forces, and knowing that they were not allies, he instantly relayed the information. Kabuto smirked that it's about time that he also joined the battlefront as well, as it's about time that he had some fun. So yeah guys, this was basically as we left off. You guys can switch across and play check out for yourself. So this will begin this new episode. Naruto stood in the center of vicious snarls and growls coming his way. He heard a snort in his head. Yes, they are rather pathetic, said Naruto. In the mindscape where the fox was allowed to roam freely, well, the seal was still on him. He was able to see through Naruto's eyes the battle that was going on outside. He was able to look up at the sky and he saw it, the full view of outside, and these fake, off-brand Jinjulkis thought they could stand up to his hosts. The Nine-Tails was a rather prideful being, and these copies, imitation, acting like they were something really got on his nerves. As they started to flare their chakra, 12 of them in total, the captain making 13. Is this supposed to make me afraid? Naruto asked. As he looked towards the captain, he didn't know what was up with the growling towards him, like they were some wild animals. The captain raised his blade as he pointed towards Naruto. No, it's just to show you the power that my team has under their control, and that you won't survive past this day. As Naruto looked towards them, all of them getting ready to attack him, as he saw the chakra coiled around them, they were ready to strike. As Naruto lowered his head, as he shook his head. You want to see real power, he said. Well then, come. The moment he said that, the captain raised 2 fingers as 2 of them shot forward, their feet literally cracking the ground as they moved. Their hands were claws now as they swiped it towards his chest and to his back. As Naruto stood there waiting at the last possible moment before he ducked, the 2 claw hands passing over his head, as he looked into the eyes of the beast man in front of him. As Naruto reached out his hand coated in the fox chakra. As the captain was quite surprised, Naruto shoved his hand directly through the imitation Jinjuliki. Just because you can handle the power of that Biju that you gain your power from, it doesn't mean that you can handle the power of the strongest Biju on this planet. As Naruto flared the chakra in his hand, the man started to scream as his insides were boiling. The fox chakra was wild, potent, and a lot stronger as it shredded him from inside out. It wasn't like he was exactly a full Jinjuliki, so his body could not contain the amount of chakra that Naruto released in a single burst. The man turned to dust, his insides boiling out, smoke remaining on Naruto's hand. Naruto felt something slam into his back. The Jinjuliki behind him tried to do the same thing by shoving his hand through Naruto. But Naruto's armor started to glow with seals all around it as it absorbed the hit, turning the force of that attack into power as Naruto turned and jumped. The Jinjuliki ducked right under Naruto's swinging kick, but Naruto brought his leg down. The Jinjuliki moved as Naruto shattered the earth. The moment his feet touched down, he vanished. As he appeared behind the Jinchuriki, who looked around. "Behind you," the commander said. As the Jinchuriki turned with a swinging claw, he screamed out when both of his hands were severed, as Naruto kicked him right in the throat and stomped in it, crushing his windpipe. A Rasengan formed right in Naruto's palm as he dropped it through the Jinchuriki's skull, completely obliterating it. He stood there as the remaining 10 looked at him, including the commander, who was a bit pissed off right now. The commander dropped his hand as all 10 rushed forward. They were like savage beasts as they come towards Naruto. As Naruto rushed towards them, the first one clasped both of his hands and dropped it towards Naruto's skull, only for Naruto to redirect the attack and slip behind him. The other one came in like a bullet as Naruto jumped and he crashed into his own frame. The two of them now on the ground. Naruto held his hand high up in the sky. In a second, supermassive Rasengan, a Rasengan that was 10 times larger than the one that he just created, formed. As he dropped it on two of them, the explosion blew back the other 8 as they flipped. The commander cursed. Just what the hell is going on? These were the elites of Kumo. Frankly, they might not be as strong as Yujito or Killer Bee-sama, but still, this wasn't supposed to be going this way. He wasn't even tapping into the power of 9 Tails anymore, and yet he was already knocking back his crew. Annihilating, the commander said. All of them stopped as Naruto felt the buildup of chakra. Their bodies started to steam as their stomachs got large as they were building a prototype Biju bomb in their stomach. They opened their mouth as the remaining 8 launched a massive explosion that tore through the ground. As the beams were sent sailing right towards Naruto, all of them then combined together and they create a larger beam. Naruto flashed through a hand sign, but yet he did not move a single muscle. As the beams were coming in close, the commander simply laughed. This idiot really think that he could withstand all of those beams. But then, something strange happened. Naruto's chest opened up. His chest literally opened up, revealing a strange black hole on his armor. That black hole then went and absorbed all those attacks. As Naruto's feet slid back a few steps, but he wasn't blown back as he absorbed the beams into the black hole in his chest. Once it was gone, the Jinchurikis all looked at him, shock on their faces, but yet, what could they do about it but charge? As they all moved towards them, Naruto flashed to another advanced signs. As he leaped towards the group, the space-time seal in his chest opened up once again. Their eyes widened as he brought their hands forward to shield himself, but it was too late. As the beams came back towards them, as the entire area was decimated, Gaara and his group behind the wall watched as Gaara created a massive sand wall. Even the remaining Kumo shinobis had to stand back as the explosion leveled the entire place, forcing some of them to jump back. Some of them even got torn to shreds in the explosion. As the thing went off cataclysmic, the explosion radiated through the entire place. As the massive mushroom went up in the sky, once the smoke cleared away, Kankuro spoke. "Damn, no, that's some serious firepower," he said, as he was thankful that that was not aimed towards them. Gaara's eyes were focused on the battlefield. The commander then dropped as he looked around, trying to find his forces. But he was having no luck as he did not see a single one of them. He gritted his teeth in rage and frustration. They didn't expect that at all. For the boy to be able to contain such an attack and yet release it as he feel that his master over Fuin Jutsu was once again proving to be greater than they expected. But that attack was not normal in any means necessary. There was no way that he could come out of that unscathed. As the commander looked around, the smoke was clearing away as there was no sign of Naruto. As the commander wondered if he blew himself up, trying to do something heroic for his party, because he wasn't anywhere to be seen. Tamara started to look around frantically. Did he blow himself up? She wondered. Not even Gaara could find him. The guy's a lot stronger than that, said Kankuro. I doubt something like that would take him out. He wouldn't let a mistake like that take him out, would he? Kankuro said. But at the moment he was not seeing Naruto anywhere. and the smoke was completely gone. It was then that Gaara felt something on his fingers. As he looked to see a jolt of electricity. What the hell, said Temari, as her hair started to spike up. She tried to smooth it down, but whatever she did, it was still spiking up. Same for Gaara and the company around him. The commander also felt it, as he felt his body tingling, before he was zapped. What the hell is that? He was once again zapped. This time a discharge went off as he was struck in the chest. The man clutched his chest as he winced in pain, confused on what the hell was going on. He looked around, but his eyes were not seeing anything until he saw zap! He cried out in pain as a beam of electricity ripped right through the hole of his mask, incinerating that eye. As he clutched it as blood leaked from the socket. The mask had got badly damaged as it fell off his face, showing his one green eye as he looked around confused. It was then that he saw it. There was a shimmering dome of electricity forming around him. As Gaara saw it as well, something was whipping past so fast they were barely able to notice it. The commander felt it once again as he cried out in pain. Once again his arms and legs were zapped repeatedly until he heard the voice. Lightning release. Discharge spears the voice. The voice seemed to come from all around them. And finally, Naruto revealed himself by slowing down, as his body was still caked in lightning. As he exits a swift release, all the charge of energy of electricity was now surrounding the commander like a dome of electricity. The man looked around as he was once again zapped, but these strikes were more intense as he felt his skin being ripped apart. He cried out in pain, but the collapsing dome seemed to fall right on him, and he was electrocuted, his hair falling from his head, his eyes, well, his remaining eye popped, and his skin boiled, as he was reduced to a walking, burning victim until the discharge finally went off. As Naruto stepped forward, as he looked down towards the man looked up at Naruto, his sightless eyes hearing the movement, despite his body being in worse condition as he tried to speak, but his throat had been zapped. He couldn't say a single word, as he soon succumbed to his injuries and died. As Naruto looked forward towards the 7,000 plus shinobis, who were still shocked. They knew about the Kinko force, of course, well, the upper heads, and they knew that it was the elite of their group, but yet this one shinobi was able to annihilate all of them. And the messed up thing about it was, he was barely even injured. The first lieutenant of this group stepped forward. He might be strong, but he cannot take all of us. We will be doing a great service to our country and our nation if we bring him down right now. So let's crush him. As the group behind him cheered. As Gaara stepped beside Naruto. You should get out of here, said Naruto. I'm afraid I can't do that, said Gaara. After all you did, I can't leave you to just die like that. Oh, I won't be the one dying, said Naruto. Naruto, you might be strong, but you alone against these 7,000 plus ninjas. It would be too much. Who said I'm alone, said Naruto. As he simply smirked. As Gaara saw that devious smirk on his face, knowing that he was planning on doing something, well, explosive. Take your force then move back, said Naruto. It's about to get chaotic. As Naruto started to step forward. Naruto, Gaara said, as Naruto paused and looked back towards him. But he saw it look in Naruto's eyes. He could do this. As Gaara looked back towards his forces, many of them were injured, but some of them could still fight. But Naruto believed that he can really do this by himself. It was then that Gaara felt the chakra inside of him start to stir. And Gaara knew what's about to happen as he moved back. What the hell's going on, said Temari. We need to help him. He won't be needing our help. Gaara, there are 7,000 plus shinobis out there, said Kankuro. Of course he will need our help. Gaara shook his head as he motioned for them to look. Meanwhile, as Naruto was currently in his mind escape as he was walking towards the crew. As Kurama looked down towards him. The fox was there in his full height, his massive, thundering form looming over Naruto. his sharp teeth shining brightly. "Well then," said Naruto, "have your fun." Meanwhile, outside, the group was charging towards Naruto, the commander at the forefoot. As he was gonna end this quickly as he flashed through hand sign, but before he could release a technique, an explosion went off, stopping him dead in his tracks. The group felt a malicious wave of chakra wash over them like a tidal wave, as they saw the massive poof of smoke that blocked their vision. Then they heard it, a roar that ripped through the entire place. The sky darkened. The clouds seemed to get dark within seconds. The place shake and rumble. It was getting rather chaotic. When the smoke started to clear away, the ninjas on the side of Naruto saw why they need to step back. The massive form of a 9-tailed fox stood there, looming over everyone. All powerful, all strong. The beast once again stepping foot on this world. As the 9-tailed took a breath before it roared, many of the enemy shinobi stopped dead in their tracks. They were really gonna go up against the 9-tails. Up against the massive 9-tailed fox who was said to crush mountains as single swoop of his tail. The fox looked down at all of them with a hungry look in his eyes. "It's about goddamn time you let me have my fun," he said, seeming to talk to himself, before he dropped both of his hands on the ground. His hands caused a massive earthquake as it split the enemy. The fox then jumped to their shock. It opened its mouth as a Biju bomb formed. It launched it towards the crew, and pure chaos ensued. Meanwhile, Jiraiya twisted his foot through the air as he slammed it in the Masked Shinobi's face, cracking his mask. His body enhanced by Sage Mode, the Masked Shinobi was sent sailing as he crashed right into another shinobi on his side, the both of them smashing into the ground. Jiraiya did not stop there as he quickly shot off towards the group. As his speed was immense, his 2,000 plus ninjas facing off against the entire 8,000 plus from the Hidden Stone. Jiraiya alone had already whittled down a lot of those numbers with his enhanced Sage Mode, reflex, speed, and not to mention strength. As one of the Masked Shinobi was grabbed by Paw with his tongue and launched towards Jiraiya, a Rasengan formed as Jiraiya grinded it right in the man's stomach as it exploded outwards. He then started to go through hand signs, the toads doing the same, as oil and fire was released, boiling a huge part of the enemy force that had tried to surround Jiraiya. He then heard a roar as one of the ninjas that were coming towards him was grabbed out of mid-air by one of the massive lions. The lion tore him apart. As Jiraiya gave the lion a nod, who nodded back before jumping towards the foe. As Jiraiya saw the remaining enemies, this was the first wave. The remaining ones were still standing there looking at them. There was a lot. Jiraiya saw that the signal was given as the remaining shinobis, 5,000 plus, came bearing down on them. He looked back at his forces. Jiraiya might be strong and a sage, but not even he could take on so much. And his forces behind him, most of them were wounded and were being pulled back. He only had a few hundred shinobis left with him. Backup should be getting here at any moment now, because if they were gonna win this, they need a miracle. Wood style. Seems that miracle came. Great Buddha hands. As Minma landed beside Jiraiya and slammed both his hands on the ground, hundreds, probably thousands of wooden hands emerged and started to move like a tidal wave as it squashed the enemies. It literally broke them down, crushing them under the might. The 5,000 plus watched as a few hundreds of their ninjas were taken out within seconds, and the technique was not stopping. Minma flashed to another hand sign as he slammed his hand down. Those Buddha hands start to come to a stop before saplings start to grow from all over them. Those saplings released spikes. Hundreds of wooden spikes exploded outwards, impaling, ripping through enemy forces, slaughtering thousands. The once strong 5,000 stood there in absolute shock, unable to believe that something like that just happened. Their numbers are being cut down so quickly by these small amount of shinobis. It was then that one of the men saw him. It's the second coming of the first. The nickname that Menma was given because of his expertise on Mokidan was shouted towards the enemy force. They cursed they were not banking on him being here. That is why they had brought down the mass amount of their forces. It was then that they heard electricity, as a beam of lightning was shot up in the sky. That beam of lightning twisted and turned into a massive, raging dragon that came down on the force and decimated a few hundreds of them, blowing them away. As Jiraiya turned to see Sesame, her hands covered in lightning, beside her was her brother, who flashed to another set of hand signs, as Sasuke took in a deep breath before he spewed out a massive fire dragon that shot forward. It seems like it was about to go to the enemy, but it did not, as it went up in the sky. Sesame doing the same as she released an intense amount of flames. The sky started to darken as Jiraiya heard the sky crackling, lightning, electricity. Jiraiya felt the stinging sensation in the air. The air was filled with lightning. Sesame and Sasuke went through a hand sign as they united their chakra together, as they made a link. "You ready, brother?" said Sesame. As Sasuke gave her a nod, "Let's do this." Lightning release. Stormy feel the both of them said at the same time. The moment they said that, the sky started to crackle so much. The lightning in the sky was literally shining all over. The shinobis looked up, petrified by the amount of lightning in the sky, as both brothers and sisters dropped their hands. Menma went through hands as he slammed his hand down a massive wooden wall was brought straight up in front of him and Jiraiya and his forces. His wall started to crack as a lightning storm came down repeatedly. It shattered upon the forces, the force of the attack crushing down, as it was like a chain reaction as it did not stop for a long while. Menma's wall started to crack, but it did not break, it stood strong. When it was finally over, he dropped the wall. Those 5,000 were now reduced to a few hundred, but that jutsu came with a negative effect. The moment Sesame and Sasuke arrived, they had been releasing lightning chakra up in the sky, tampering with the clouds. After all, they had to supersize the technique, so it took a lot of their chakra. The both of them fell on one knee, but it wasn't a problem, as Menma gave the both of them a smile. After all, their techniques was able to wipe out a clean amount of the enemy, and now they should be able to finish this by themselves. Meanwhile, back towards Naruto, the massive nine-tailed demon stood over corpses. Nothing but obliterated corpses as they were torn to shreds. Gaara had erupted a massive wall of sand when he realized that Naruto was not joking, that he should get the hell out of there, because the explosions were nowhere normal. They were chaotic and explosive. They had torn and ripped through the entire area. Lucky enough, he had saved his people. The massive nine-tailed beast was still hovering there though, and all the previous amount of shinobis were now dead, squashed under his paw or obliterated by the final Biju bomb that he released that turned the earth black. The place was like a waste field, as all the allied forces could not believe that that power really belonged and was under Naruto control. The massive beast turned towards them, his 9 menacing tails waggling in the air, threatening to wash them all away with a single swipe. But that would not be the case, as he slowly started to shrink. As Naruto dropped, as he landed right on his feet, he wasn't even out of breath. He seemed completely fine after all. It was not his chakra that was being released, it was a nine-tailed fox. Now there's no reason for you to pester me and say that I don't give you your time to have fun. This was still not enough, said Kurama. I still wish to intake in the future battles. Oh, and you will, said Naruto. After all, I'm gonna need your forces when they send more than these weak amount of ninjas to overrun us. But I don't believe that will be for some time now. And why do you say that? Well, if they're not stupid, they would know that your forces are just gonna be killed if they keep on sending them over and over, said Naruto. But if they do not do that, they know that we will conquer their villages within days. Because if they do not send their mass amount of forces, we are just gonna walk right through the borders and take their villages. But they are gonna play it smart now. They can't afford any more major losses, because up to this point Konoha has lost, and the Stan has lost, but we have not lost as much as them in this war yet, despite us not having the same amount of force as they have. You know, sometime I forgot that you're not as stupid as the other humans, said Kurama. I'll take that as a compliment, said Naruto. Don't think you get another one, Kurama said, as Naruto looked around at the mass destruction that he caused. He then turned as he saw Gaara moving towards him. As Gaara was looking towards the scene, nothing but utter chaos. He was speechless. The Shikaku was powerful, but in terms of power it was nowhere near to the power that Naruto wielded. Luckily, him and the Shikaku were on some good terms. Naruto was the one that helped him with his seal when the joint mission was happening between the Sand and Konoha, and he was able to freely talk to Shikaku, and they came up with an agreement. He would not restrain him that much as long as he did not try to influence him and give him his power, so that he could do right for his village and his people. The seal bindings were ridiculously tight, and Shikaku, who was used to the outside world, did not like them one bit, so he agreed to these terms. Time skip. Back on the field, where Menma was, the enemy had finally been defeated. They had lost a large amount of their forces in the first battle where Jiraiya had tried to hold them off. But now it was finally over. The wounded were being brought back to the medical support. As Menma looked over towards Sesame and Sasuke, who had recovered, they could both do the technique, but it would not be that powerful. The both of them spent years on mastering the technique, and yet their defeat was quite devastating. Their efforts will turn the tide of this war. It was then that the Yamanaka came over to him. A report from HQ, the girl said, as she was talking to both him and Jiraiya. She placed a hand on both of their heads, as Menma found himself speaking to his father, talking in a professional tone. What is it, Hokage-sama? He said. There's something coming your way, said Minato, his voice sounding distress. Something like what? Asked Menma, as Shikaku came in on the link as well. From the reports that we've gotten, strange inhumanoid man with green hair and white skin coming your way. They will be closing in with a matter of minutes. They just spring from the ground, judging from what the report said, and there's a lot of them. What do you mean by a lot? Said Minato. From the estimated numbers, they have spawned all over the field. 100,000+. Menma and Jiraiya froze at those words. They must be hearing wrong. Yes, that must be the case. Hokage-sama, will you mind repeating that? It was no mistake, Menma. And these things, they're not friendly. What the hell are they? Said Jiraiya. Meanwhile, as Naruto stood on top of the massive mountain peak, as he looked down, the leverage had given him enough sight to see the enemies coming. Where the hell are they? Said Gaara, as Naruto's eyes were focused on the strange white creatures. Suddenly, a swirling vortex appeared in front of him, as the masked man stepped out of it rather calmly. Naruto did not go after him like before, he just looked at him. He had a smirk on his face under his mask as he looked up towards Naruto. I warned you that if you go against me, you would not like it. And this is what you're receiving, the masked man said, as he looked at Naruto. You might be strong, and the Konoha shinobis that you're with might be strong as well, but my force is in the hundreds of thousands. So I doubt that your strength could last for that long, and you will fall, unless you give me what I seek. So tell me, what did you do with his head? I know that you're smart, and you would not destroy something so valuable. After all, you did fight him. You saw what those eyes can do. Gaara was confused what was going on here, and what were they talking about, yet Naruto was not answering the masked man. Instead, Naruto stooped down towards the mountain as he placed his hand on the ground. as he had his eyes closed. "Are you listening to me?" the masked man said. But still Naruto refused to say a single word. The man chuckled. "Arrogant as always, huh? Well, keep on feigning ignorance. I'm sure you'll become crawling to me when you realize that your forces are numbered and getting killed by the thousands. Oh, and this is not the first place that you're showing up. They're probably reaching your brother at the moment." The masked man sucked himself away in a swirling vortex after saying that. "Naruto," said Gaara, as Naruto slowly opened his eye. As he focused on the white creatures that were marching towards them, he then went through hand sign as his hands literally changed. Gaara watched as his hands changed into wooden vines. His hands stabbed into the ground. "What are you doing?" said Gaara. "Hoping for a miracle," said Naruto. As his hands were in the ground, the vines seemed to be doing something. Meanwhile, as Menma was shocked as he saw the forces. "Is this real?" one of the Konoha shinobi said, as he saw over 50,000 plus shinobis. Not shinobis, these white things coming towards them. It was then that Menma felt it, as his hand twitched slightly. As he looked over towards his broken piece of wooden wall that he had created, back towards the white creatures, and he felt the connection. Menma stepped forward. "Menma," said Jiraiya, but he did not stop as he stopped right over the small rise that they would take to get here. He then sat down as he folded his legs. "What are you doing?" said Jiraiya. "Trying something," said Menma, as he closed his eyes. Meanwhile at HQ, this don't seem to be from the stone or Kumo. They have no village insignia. Perhaps this was some engineer testing, some biohumans that he created, said Hiruzen, as they did not know what, so he was coming up with ideas, because right now they were stumped. "Maybe this the Akatsuki finally making their move," said Minato, as Shigako and Hiruzen turned towards him. "After all, we know that you're not finished, that masked man. From the information that we got from Konan, we both know that he wants those eyes. From her statement, he would probably be jealous of them. But Naruto said to himself he wanted those eyes, and he knew that Naruto would not destroy them because he saw how valuable they were when it comes towards power. So perhaps this is him making his move." "Then what do we do?" said Hiruzen, as he was at a loss. "Naruto and the others might be strong, but against this amount of force, they won't survive." "Hokage-sama, report from the battlefield," said Inoichi. Minato made his way as he connected with the battlefield. "Father," said Naruto. Even though Menma addressed him as Hokage-sama, it seems Naruto was different. "Naruto, the numbers have estimated to be over 50,000. Is that correct?" "Yes. It is the same here," said Menma. "Our forces are not able to handle this," said Minato. "They're too much." "It doesn't matter," said Naruto. "These things, whatever they are, they're made from Mokidan cells." "What?" said Minato. "He's right," said Menma. "I can feel it. I was just going to tell you the same thing, brother." "Wait, so that gives us some options," said Minato. "Yes, it does," said Naruto. "These things aren't actually humans, from what I can see, and they can be manipulated. It will take a large amount of chakra, and probably put me out of commission for a while, but I can stop them." "Me too," said Menma. "Well, if you can do it, then do it," said Minato. "If we can take down these two large forces and take them out of the way, the remaining shinobis will have to handle what comes towards them. Not to mention, I doubt that the Stone and Kumo would attack after they just saw their 8,000 plus get annihilated on both sides." "Father, it's him." "So he has shown himself again, huh?" said Minato. "Yeah," said Naruto. "He's the one controlling these forces. They're getting close. Menma, you know what to do." "Yeah, let's end this," said Menma, as he cut the connection. As Minato turned towards Hiruzen and Fukaku, "It seems like my boys have found a solution," he said. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, "Once I do this, I will need to recover. So you have to watch my back, Kazekage-sama," said Naruto. As Gaara gave Naruto a nod. Do what you can if you can stop them, he said. As Naruto placed both of his hands onto the ground, the massive army of white Zetsus were coming towards them. When suddenly, the army stopped. As Naruto released a wave of chakra, so much chakra that it dwarfed the entire battlefield. It was alarming, but at the same time it was calm. As Naruto tapped into Mokiton, he dived deep into the energy source. Naruto had never learned how to completely absorb the Mokiton to his body and activate Sage Mode with it, like Hoshirama Senju, but Menma had learned how to. But still, that didn't mean he couldn't tap into it, and right now he was doing that at the very moment Menma was doing the same thing as he released a large amount of their chakra, blending the Mokiton chakra into these strange white creatures that were so attuned to it. The white Zetsus on the field stopped. Their bodies started to shift and twist and change as their hands started to shot upwards and leaves started to sprout from their bodies. As they were literally growing into trees. One after another, the white Zetsus broke out into trees. As Gaara saw Naruto sweating, sweat run down his face as his hands trembled. On the other hand, Menma was being protected by Jiraiya and Sesame as they saw him struggling as he forced his chakra over the forces that were currently coming to a stop, rendering them all useless trees. As they all slowed down, Menma grunted in exertion as he released more of his chakra. This amount of chakra would have normally killed any Jonin or elite Jonin at the rate that he was releasing it. Well, Menma wasn't exactly normal after all. He had Senju and Uzumaki DNA, and his chakra reserves could rival Hoshirama Senju, and Naruto on the other hand, his chakra reserves were much larger, as his eyes eclipsed the two DNA and made them even stronger. When the two boys finally finished, they collapsed, panting in exhaustion as they felt drained. Gaara looked forward towards a beautiful scene. All of the white Zetsus had turned into trees. As Gaara created a blanket of sand and placed Naruto on it as he floated him away, the shinobis were stunned. As Jiraiya held on to Menma, who had collapsed as he fell unconscious right in his arm. As Sesame smiled, as she looked towards the sleeping Menma. "Rest," she said, "you did enough." As she still couldn't believe that it actually worked. As she looked towards the beautiful scene in front of her, all the white Zetsus were stopped. A distance away, there was a man standing there. As he looked over the battlefield, he had bandage wrapped all around him. As all that information was being reported back towards Kabuto, that man was none other than Second Tishikage Mew. Well, it seems like the white Zetsu plan failed. And if Menma could do that, that meant Naruto could do the same thing. Well then, their plan was a true failure. As he wondered how the masked man would react when he heard this, he'd probably lose his mind. Time skip. What? The masked man was pissed. No, he was violent, as he just received the information from Zetsu. How is that even possible, he said. Well, I figured it has something to do with their Mokiton. It seems like they activate the cells that were lying dormant in the white Zetsus. In doing so, they were able to reduce them back to a more primal state, and that is a tree form. The masked man slammed his feet into the wall as he shattered it, using the white Zetsus to crush the allied shinobi forces by dwindling down their numbers. Was a huge play on his part, but now they were all gone. As the man was furious, he had enough. He quickly sucked himself away in a swirling vortex as Kabuto watches the man appear in front of him. Here to make me release my plan now because yours failed. I'm not in the mood, the masked man said. And who said I was, said Kabuto. But admit it, your plan failed. And now it's my turn. I told you we should have begun my plan from the start. But no, you wanted to wait. Well, Kabuto slammed his hands together. Let's start the onslaught, shall we? Meanwhile, at the communication center, the Raikage sat there. The man was silent, as he just received the report that a large group of strange white beings He figured that this was Akatsuki making a move or just subdued. Not only that, his 8,000 plus along with the Tishikage 8,000 plus was also subdued by those brats and their accomplice. His forces were just drop. The information came back saying that Nine Tails was released and decimate his forces. His Kinkaku squad was wiped out. A part of the Raikage didn't want to admit it, but he was second guessing this war. But he was already far in it, and his pride did not allow him to bend a knee. Well, he couldn't. As he remembered the words that Tishikage told him, that boy told him. This war would not end in peaceful talks. It would only end in bloodshed. As he snapped his head towards Oniki, who was also silent, who was thinking the same thing. Where is the Akatsuki member? It's time that he bring out those Edo Tenseis. It seems like one of his plans already failed. He has not contacted us since. Tishikage, he shouted. As Oniki was in deep thought, mostly the words that Naruto said to him was ringing through his mind. As he cursed, Kurosaki has reached mainland, as she was currently making her way after the forces. But the way things are going right now, it didn't seem like they would be winning anytime soon. Things were not going their way, and they need to change that. He didn't turn his head when he heard the Raikage calling his name. Are you deaf? The Raikage said in anger. As Oniki glared at him, he was not in the mood to be disrespected right now. I kindly suggest that you watch your tone, young one. Does it look like I'm in the mood either? The Raikage asked in nothing but utter rage. This war has turned out to be a big failure. As your contacts in the room didn't say a single word after all. They knew when the Raikage was pissed it wasn't a good thing. And Oniki was also a rather dangerous man in piss. And right now they were losing big time. Where's your informant in the Akatsuki? Why hasn't he done anything yet? What about the Edo Tenseis? I do not know. Oniki said he has not contacted me so far. As Oniki was getting royally pissed off right now, where's that damn masked man? Meanwhile, on the south border, as a group of Konoha ninjas that had remained with Kakashi Hatake was currently watching the border, they had not embarked deep in Kumo territory yet. They were waiting for the remaining forces to regroup and reconnect with him so they can move forward and conquer as much land as possible. That was when someone burst from the trees. As Kakashi stood there when he saw the man, he had a mask over his mouth that looked like one of those contraptions he used to breathe underwater. Kakashi was startled because his man looked so familiar, but he couldn't be. Hanzo? No, it can't be. Hanzo of the Salamander, one of the veteran Konoha ninjas said, as Kakashi looked toward the Jonin beside him. No, Hanzo is dead, so this is not possible. Hanzo went through hand sign before slamming his hand on the ground. Kakashi watched as 4 coffins erupted from the earth. Meanwhile, at the border, standing near the land of Wave, to make sure that the ninjas from the sea doesn't get in, as Kurosaki and her forces were currently regrouping. After all, they had must dock by now, but it seemed like they were formulating a plan. The Konoha shinobis that were being led by Fukaku Uchiha himself, the head of the Uchiha clan, stood there. A few elite Uchihas under his control, and a few other Konoha ninjas and sand ninjas as well. As they were there ready to protect the village, they wouldn't let anyone get through, because if they did get through, they would have a straight line right in towards Land of Fire. It was then that Fukaku saw something. Well, Itachi was the one to speak up first, as Itachi's son, his second in command, was right beside him. Father, he said. As Fukaku turned his head, he saw someone landing right on the water surface. They were away, a little bit away from the houses at the Land of Wave. But these were not the stone shinobis, it was a single person. He had blonde hair that was almost like the grain of sand. Black eyes, a fair complexion. He was wearing a bluish robe going down towards his feet. A obi tied around his waist. As he looked towards them, he went through hands and his eyes looked so lifeless. That's The second Mizukage, said Fukaku, confused and shocked what the hell was going on. He slammed his hand down as they saw coffins rising up out of the water. As several people that they thought they would never see step out of those coffins. Meanwhile, the masked man stood in front of Kabuto as a coffin rose up beside Kabuto. The masked man smirked when he saw the burst that emerged from it. Well, it's about goddamn time that they retaliated on the enemy forces and made them suffer. As he clenched his fists, Naruto, Uzumaki Senju, I'm coming for you, the masked man thought to himself. But guys, be in subscribe right here. If you want the next person, do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. Remember to share with all of your friends in your social media platform. And also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new series over on Anime King 2 of What If Naruto was a one-of-a-kind prodigy, and enjoy that guys. And remember for you to go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all for your help and your support, and yeah, what do you say, get the hell out of here. See you guys soon. Peace.